Welcome to the Thescenesnobs podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome. It's Tuesday night, and we are kicking things off. We have a very special guest in Trevor Stottlemyre here, and we have producer Paul in the back, and we are hanging out. But I wanted to come on here and want to talk to you guys for a few seconds and address something. This isn't going to be anything else other than what it is. I don't want to talk about it. It's not going to be a topic, but we just had an assassination attempt on former President Trump's life. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on or where you lean. We have all members in the Snob Nation here. And the fact of the matter is, seeing something like that, and it was live on the air and they're showing it on the news, seeing something like that can really affect people in different ways. It can affect people who have never seen anything like that. It can affect people who look up to them, and that's important to deal with, So if you guys are, I just want to remind you all that if you're dealing with something or anything else, it doesn't have to be that, but I know that can be a very scarring thing, and our, thoughts and prayers and everything go out to him and his family, and the family of the victim who passed away and the ones who were injured. All of you, violence is never the answer, but maybe go check out down below in the description. We have resources to help find mental health, advocates and things like that, and just treatments and stuff if you need them. So I wanted to come on here and say that because I do know that it affected me when I saw it, and that's something I'll talk to my therapist about. And this isn't any type of promo or anything. I just wanted to say we always keep these down and down below. So if you were affected by it, you're listening or watching, maybe go check them out, maybe reach out to somebody and get the help you need. All right, everybody. Well, let's bring in our awesome guest and my lovely co-host tonight, Mr. Producer Paul and Trevor Stottlemyre from the Ambassador Radio and Media. Thank you guys so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Guys, I am so excited. We are talking movie monsters tonight, but before we get started, I want to thank, because I didn't do it before, I want to do it now. I want to thank our sponsor of this video, StubHub. Thank you guys so much. If you want to get out and get tickets for concert venues, sporting events, everything else, head on down to the link in StubHub, their affiliate sponsor, and we truly appreciate them. We appreciate you guys for supporting the channel as well. So, guys, before we get started, let's recap a little bit. First, I want to talk to you, Trevor. Tell us more about Ambassador Media.
Well, yet again, I have to thank you, Paul, everyone at the Snob Nations for having me again. Ambassador Radio is a radio show and also growing into a multimedia concept that looks at the B-side of music history. And when I say that, I'm not talking like, things that are under the radar. I'm talking under the radar.
Yeah, you've taught me something about genres, and musical genres I never thought existed.
It touches upon almost every genre. And its goal for me is to learn as much about music as the show does. So every episode is a personal deep dive into music that is curated to be, take a trip on the B-side and see what has been neglected for some very nefarious reasons. So
I love it. And you do. And indie is so important, and not just indie, but like songs that have fallen by the wayside and artists and things like that that nobody knows about or has ever heard about, you bring to light. And that's a great thing. Appreciate that.
Well, thank you. It hasn't brought anything monetary to me, but it's been pretty much a life's project since I was in college. So
I love it. And yes, I know exactly how you feel. But you can by following us over on Patreon and supporting us if you like. It all goes back to the channel. But I do want to say, guys, I'm excited about tonight's topics. Paul, I know you are, because we're going to get into some horror tonight, and that's your jam. But I want to ask you, because I love you so much, and you look so lovely tonight. How's your week going, buddy?
It's been an interesting week. Worked 22 hours yesterday, so I was catching up on some sleep today. So it was
nothing wrong with that.
Good Monday, Good thought.
sorry you had to work 22 hours. So I hope that it was worth it to monetarily speaking. Somebody
We
has
can
to
hope.
make it at least 3. So somebody has to do it with their projects. But thank you guys again for joining in today. But I thought it'd be fun now and to kind of explain where this came from. I was thinking about the Dark Universe they were going to put out. Universal was going to try and do, and it started with the Tom Cruise. Ironically, we were just talking about him, but the Tom Cruise Mummy movie, which was not. I may have to do that for it. Does it suck? Because when I saw it in theaters, I was like, this doesn't seem as bad as everybody's saying. And then I started thinking about it. And but I mean, like, nothing. I went into that movie knowing that nothing's ever going to compare to the Brendan Fraser Mummy. That's the pinnacle, in my opinion. I was like, unless you have like something like that, it's not going to hold up. But I'll see where this Dark Universe goes. And I think I was just so anxious for a Dark Universe as they were explaining it that I wanted to believe that it was good.
Right.
And now, like 10 years later, I can officially say that it's never coming. So let's recast, gentlemen.
That sounds like a plan. But I must say, Benicio del Toro did play a good werewolf.
He did. That was a good version.
That
I really
was
did
the
like
high
that.
point of the most contemporary Dark Universe, which they keep trying again and again and again.
I didn't mind Luke Evans as Dracula. I didn't love the movie, but I didn't mind him in the role. I would have liked to have seen the continuation of it, if that makes sense. Paul, please jump in.
I don't even know, like, that Dracula, I just kind of thought it was boring, to be honest. Like, I still like the original one a lot better. I mean, even though it kind of drifts away from Universal, like, I love Nosferatu. Like, that's probably still my favorite vampire film. It's just the makeup and everything like that, the musical scores. I love a good silent film. So this one, you know, I expected it to be
The
dark.
Legend of Max Shrek. Yeah.
Well, you should are you excited for the one that's coming out in December?
I'm looking forward to it. It's tough with horror. You know, the horror community, you get so hyped for movies, and half the time, if not more, it's just a let, which kind of sucks at a certain point. So you just kind of try to keep your hopes kind of low or at bay, just so that you don't get too disappointed when it comes out.
But more on that later.
Yes.
So Trevor,
Yes.
you know, you're an aficionado and especially classic films, all film really.
Thank you.
But classic films, like, and I think when I say I put the emphasis on classic films because most of our wonderful conversations are wrapped around classic films. So I do definitely, like, when I think of these things, I go to you for that. And I think if anybody's going to have a great list, and I did not look at yours still. You sent it to me and I did not look at it. I was like, I do not
You
want.
said you were going to. I did.
And I also I pulled up 3 castings on ChatGPT, one with A-list actors, one with B-list actors, and one with predominantly horror actors. I have not looked at it yet. I just typed it in and let it go. I didn't want to see anything while it was I didn't want anything to influence mine. So it's going to be interesting. So it's going to be all of our castings. Now, I went at this from a point of it's all an in-world. They're all, you know, whether it's all, you know, different movies, this is going to be the Monsters universe, this new Dark Universe, and who would I want to play? Now, with that being said, I will kick us off and let's go down the line. I'll call it out. We'll go with Dracula. All right. And then afterwards, why don't we go through the chat GPT and see what they said? Okay. So Dracula, I went with Nick Cage because I loved his Dracula in Renfield. And it's so new and still fresh. I thought if by my picks, I think that would be really cool to, like, put them all together. So that's what I was kind of going with. Not full comedy, but maybe a little more comedy to it. All right, Paul, what is your Dracula?
I didn't write his first name, but the Skarsgård brother that was in Killboy and Pennywise.
Okay, all right. Bill Skarsgård.
Thank you. Yes,
I was immediately thinking Alexander Skarsgård, and I'm like, Tarzan. I was like, I guess that could work.
No. I think he'd play it well. I think he'd be creepy
too.
Look charming, you know.
Now, did you make your picks based on all this being like an in-universe where they're all together?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I kind of
I left the parameters. I wanted the parameters to stay open.
Yeah. So mine are all going to be dark. Like, I have dark depictions of what Skarsgård would do for Dracula as opposed to
I
he would Nicolas
seriously-
Cage. That's good.
I need you to go to the descriptions and scroll down to the bottom where it says mental health resources and start looking. You just start looking. It's getting dark.
Wasn't it a Skarsgård that was in True Blood?
Yeah, it
Other-
was.
Yeah,
I think that was Alexander.
Yes,
Yeah,
there's a history of vampires in that family.
Oh my god, that's true. And technically, Pennywise is like a energy vampire. Ugh,
Yeah.
Pennywise or fear
I just have to
vampire.
jump in really, really quick. When you mentioned Nosferatu, who is one of the most important of the original monsters, I have one word, and it's either a good or a bad thing, and that's Eggers. He could make a masterpiece. I just had to. So sorry.
No sorries. He
appreciate
did.
it.
Hopefully, he did very
Yeah.
soon. We'll find out in December. He's got a very good track record for me, so I'm excited. Now, Trevor, who would play your Dracula?
Well, first I have to say exactly how I kind of did the list. Like Paul, I tried to think of them all together. So I want also people who would represent the year 2024. But I also reached out to a couple friends and also posted in a private group I have for Ambassador Radio and Media. And people gave me some really awesome suggestions, which helped my mind, which is stuck in Lugosi, Peter Cushing, and all those legendary, but Paul Nasi helped me along. So for me, and this comes down to two things. He is so wonderfully global, and also he has such piercing eyes, and he is so pretty with a nastiness, and that's Dev Patel as Dracula.
Ooh, can you explain why? I would love to hear your version.
Okay, well, I feel that right now, I mean, even if you've seen him many things, but just in Monkey Man alone, there is this Dracula needs, if you're going to look for the Lugosi recipe, the person needs to be intense, very attractive, depending on whatever age they are, and also give off a generalized air of mystery. And I think Dev Patel can do that wonderfully. I also think he can give a low-key and high-key performance at the same time. So, as I said, I got some help with this too, but I had to agree with this one.
I don't hate it. I like it. And he's young. I think. Yeah, I mean, he can play dark. What do you think about that, Paul?
I think it'd be great. I'd watch that one. I'm not gonna lie.
It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to almost move, and I know people are going to go crazy when I say this, but move the Dracula lore to maybe India.
Oh,
That'd
yeah.
be fun.
I mean, God forbid we get experimental with something and make a movie that might be interesting and different. But
Well, our concept of Dracula is still stuck in the Bram Stoker book and also short stories like Carmilla. So that's our idea of vampires. But one could go on for hours just about the vampiric lore of every place in the world. So it doesn't have to be in Transylvania. In fact, should it be, actually?
I don't doubt that, but you know how fans get. They get mad about it, and it happens. But all right, so as we're going on, let's go to Frankenstein's monster next. And I wanted to take somebody who was beautiful, right? And make them the monster, and then maybe add like a bit of vanity to Frankenstein. Not just the loneliness and like I look like this, but like I'm not who I once was, you know, sort of add that element to it. And I thought Idris Elba could play a good Frankenstein's monster.
That name. Sorry. I'll explain that further later.
I love it. So, Paul, who would be your Frankenstein?
Okay, so I chose for the doctor, right? So I had to choose doctor and the monster because that's just who I am.
Ooh, I didn't choose the doctor.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So the doctor, I went with Jeremy White because he reminds me of Gene Wilder enough, and that's I love Young Frankenstein. I think his acting ability, he could play a really gripping doctor. And then as for actual Frankenstein, I want the opposite way. I wanted a big scary guy that I think is a good actor as well, and that's Bautista.
You know what? I love that. And I'm gonna throw now that I'm
lot.
thinking about it, I'm gonna throw my Victor Frankenstein out. Nicholas Hoult from The Menu.
Ooh,
I think he could play a really good role, and he's in Nosferatu, which might be an exciting, like, you know, see how he is gothic. But that, you know, that's off the top of my head though. I did not plan that one. Trevor, how about you? Who's your monster? Or what'd you think and also what'd you think of Paul's?
Oh, I thought they were great. Although I'm kicking myself that I didn't think about casting both Dr. Frankenstein the monster now. But yeah, for me, Frankenstein, I think Michael Shannon, and this is also based on multiple things, but he is a bit older. He has a very chiseled quality that's hard to tell his age. He's stoic and he can look rough. So he has that rugged beauty. And in my opinion, the Frankenstein monster must always have an element of ugliness as we as humans think is ugly. So
yeah, and I like that. I like that choice a lot. That's a good one. And Jeremy Allen White's really good one for Victor Frankenstein.
Oh yeah.
I as soon as you said it, I was like, that'd be a cool one to see, especially in yours with Batista. So I thought those are some great choices. All right, next, oddly enough, next up is the Mummy.
Yes.
I went with Oscar Isaac.
Okay.
I don't know. Like I didn't go with an Egyptian actor because, in my opinion, it was more up to date, and I would like him to be the Mummy possessed, like an American possessed in a different land. I think it'd be kind of a cool, maybe sort of an allegory to, like, I don't want to say citizenship, but like maybe border, like an American who is now stuck as this mummy who's trying to get around, but can still do the human part like he did in the original. But and something like that. Like I see a parallel there that could really, I think, would work.
Heck yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but I just, for some reason,
I like it.
Guys that can kind of pull that off. But what do you think, Paul? Who's your mummy?
So first, I want to say that the Mummy with Brendan Fraser is still my favorite. That's just, it's so good. So it was hard trying to come up with the Mummy and being like, all right, if I had to recast it, who would I do? I went with Justin Long. I think I'd love to see his interpretation of playing the guy, traveling over, and he's used to bad shit always happening to him character wise anyways.
God, you have such a hard on for Justin Long.
I love Justin Long, man.
You love Justin Long. You love him. And
he's lovable in horror, man.
I think if you went the more comedic route, not comedic, but you could do a similar thing with Justin Long as the Mummy for sure. Like kind of like a haphazard became the Mummy is sort of what I'm thinking.
Kind of like the Mummy meets Idle Hands was how I kind of envisioned in my head with Justin Long.
And could you imagine that? Could you imagine you're the Mummy and like you're trying to come to either one, and like you're stuck in Egypt and you don't know the language, and like you're dealing with these things, and like mine could probably be a little more dark and twisted, whereas yours could probably be like Justin Long is not. I mean, Tusk was dark and twisted, but he was the comedic effect of it.
Yeah,
so he's got a lane.
Yeah.
And but he has got a good lane and he's good at it. But I like those choices. And now, Trevor, I want to hear yours.
I'm going to switch this up a bit, and my Mummy would actually be Zoe Kravitz.
Ooh,
for several reasons. Yet again, she is a human being that is completely transglobal and has a look that literally could be anything or anyone. She has piercing eyes, which are important in anything that is connected to a character played by Boris Karloff. It also gives the Mummy the ability to dig itself into pharaohs and things of that nature that were more female-centric. And it makes sense. And I like there being at least one massive change in the universe.
I like that, and I'm going to change mine to a woman as well, and I'm going to piggyback off of yours. I'm going to say Zendaya.
Damn, ooh. That's what I was thinking when he was talking about that.
I got to it first. You should have spoke up beforehand. No, I like Zoe Kravitz though. She does a lot of like she brings something to each role. Like I really liked her in Kimmy. Like she plays really good. Trying to think of the word that like trying to sound smart is what I'm trying to do, but I should just say like she plays really good like mousy types. She does a really good job with that,
which is amazing when you see her in public. She's just striking. Like,
I mean, I've never seen her in person, but like she is.
I mean, as far as her pictures, as far as public appearances, It's
Oh,
amazing.
yeah. She was
Yeah.
she was really good in. Oh, it's funny. I say Mousy, and then I think of the Batman. She was great in that too, and she was very powerful in that. So she can do it all, I guess. But I like Zoe Kravitz too. She's a beautiful woman, and of course, and like you said, striking, which I think would work well. And that's why I said Zendaya when I went with it. One of the female is it just
Makes
it
sense.
is there's like a look. There's an exotic look that, and they hold a presence like Zendaya in Dune 2.
Oh, beautiful.
Commanding performance in that. That was just wonderful. Dan is joining in, and Dan's here, and he's giving his read off. And before we get to our next, let's see where he's at. We have Dracula. He says Christian Bale. No, Dan, I think you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. That's a cool cat.
Damn.
I give Dan crap all the time.
I was like, that's a good one.
Mummy, Benicio del Toro. That'd be interesting. Even Javier Bardem as well. That'd be an interesting one. Wolfman out. He's a little too old, but like in Maverick, like 95
Right.
Maverick. I feel like that would be like perfect Alfred Molina Wolfman mode. But I don't hate it. I mean, I love Alfred Molina.
Molina's
awesome. Good.
The Frankenstein is Tom Hardy. I think what he did with his face in Bane. That'd be a cool one. All right, let's get to our next one, which is going to be the Invisible Man. And I chose, of all people, somebody who I think you could. I was going to make a joke and say John Cena, but I'm not. I'm not.
I hate you piece of shit.
John Cena. We only wish.
Oh my god, it'd be perfect casting. You don't even have to apply any like cloaks or anything, visibility cloaks. No, I chose somebody who's so good looking that you don't want to see his face, and but he has a great personality and charm to bring to just a voice, and that is Ryan Gosling.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Could you imagine Ryan Gosling as like just a scientist working in a lab, and he accidentally, I wasn't even going to let him create it. Pharmaceutical lab, and like he just takes the pill or whatever it is, and it turns him invisible. That would be charming, especially if he's running around with the rest of these monsters, being a pain in the ass. That's my choice. But who is your Invisible Man, sir?
So I went also with the good-looking gentleman that's very charming as well, and I thought you were going to say his name, but I went with Brad Pitt.
He already played an Invisible Man in Deadpool 2. Doesn't count. Is that why you chose him?
I actually forgot about that till you just said it, but
I love it. I love it. No. It's all good. No, great choice. Brad Pitt would work. He still has that same sort of charm and wit that he can bring to it. I like it. And Trevor, how about you, sir? Who would you be yours?
Well, first of all, I want to say your choice is amazing, and I wish I would have thought of that. If for no other reason, if you see Gosling and what he's popular for versus Only God Forgives, you understand how he potentially could do the dynamic acting of a Claude Rains, who was the Invisible Man. But that brings me to the logic of this one, and I'm on boat with you, Meg. I think the perfect person right now who could be as over the top as Claude Rains is Nick Cage.
nice.
Ooh. Oh, I'm gonna throw something at you.
Okay.
There's something at you. I think if you don't use your choice in Nicolas Cage, another good one could be Jamie Foxx.
Oh yeah.
Those two really lay into the roles more than I think anybody I ever see. And man, that like I think you could take the roles and interchange a lot of their roles, and they would both give not similar performances at all, but the intense performances that they both bring every time. And that's why I was just throwing out Jamie Foxx on top of that. But I like it. I do. If he wasn't my Dracula, I could see it. Dan is all about Only God Forgives. He says it's
Such a great movie. Love that movie.
I love everything Ren does.
We talked about The Invisible Man. We're on The Bride of Frankenstein. I went with Emily Blunt. She's like my favorite.
Oh,
right now.
good.
She just can bring a lot to the role. And especially her playing off Idris Elba. And if we got them all together, like some awesome Avengers type of group, boom, this would be perfect. In fact, I'll tell you afterwards my idea to get all these monsters together again in a new movie. But that would be a franchise. So anyway, now Paul, who is your Bride of Frankenstein?
So my Bride of Frankenstein was going with, Bartista and Jeremy White, going with that, and eventually they're going to be together. I went a little older with her, and I went with Toni Collette.
Interesting.
Because I loved her in Hereditary, and she talks with her eyes. She has great facial expressions, a good scream, and I just think she would bring justice to the Bride of Frankenstein.
No, I don't hate that. Don't hate it at all. Dan says the Invisible Man would be Rebecca Ferguson. Just thought about that. But anyway, Trevor, how about you? Who's your
my Bride of Frankenstein would actually be Millie Bobby Brown. And let me explain why.
Wow, both of you.
Okay, so if in this world, Michael Shannon is the Frankenstein monster, and as I said, the Frankenstein monster has to embody ugliness of some kind. But Millie has already proven to us she has classical Hollywood beauty, but also has the ability of androgyny. So, of course, no matter how beautiful the bride is, just like the monster, it's bits and pieces. But in this case, it's bits and pieces in the purest mixture of parts to be classical beauty. And that almost brings Michael Shannon to his knees. So.
Interesting. It'd be an odd pairing, but I mean, it's an odd story.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I'm not putting it down. I'm thinking about it in my head.
A lot of things in my head are odd. So
same. Listen, we need that, I like the Dan did not understand the 2024 part of the assignment. I do love it though. No, these are great choices though. Like all throughout time, those are some really good choices for the roles. Sam Dunn says Bride of Frankenstein, Helena Bonham Carter. At one point, I would agree. Like maybe 20 years ago, I would have been like, perfect. They should have made one with her. In fact, I'm annoyed that nobody has made a Bride of Frankenstein movie, not a continuation off of Frankenstein. Right. Just Frankenstein already exists.
Right.
And we already know the story. So tell the story of Bride of Frankenstein, her getting pulled in. They keep
the original is the best Universal horror film. I don't think anybody wants to touch it.
Ooh. Well, I mean, you don't have to. I mean, people have remade it though. I mean, wait, you think the Bride of Frankenstein's the best?
Well, in a very, to continue a monster Universal universe, of course, the Bride has been in more parodies and things of that nature. Yeah. But to do a solid remake of the Bride of Frankenstein, it is the most inventive of all the Universal monster films.
I agree and disagree in a weird way, only because I think that a Bride of Frankenstein remake would suffer from a Frankenstein, remake that it's connected to. I think if you're gonna tell the Bride of Frankenstein, tell it as is. You can remake it as is, and in fact, I would love to see Robert Eggers do this in the style of like a Lighthouse era type movie.
That'd be good, yeah.
Or you could bring it up in time period and just have it be the son of Dr. Frankenstein, which is, I know, cliched, but if you need a quick way of separating the two.
Listen, boom. This isn't the 80s or early 2000s. I don't dislike it, but
I like that.
I would really like to see a Bride of Frankenstein movie that Frankenstein is barely in. I think it would be really interesting. Like maybe in the beginning, get your first act out and then bring it in. But yeah, that'd be an interesting one. We stayed on her a lot longer than I thought we would, but I love it.
Real quick, I'm sorry, but the original text of Frankenstein is very much about the psychology of the monster. And that's something that hasn't been played with completely. Frankenstein Unbound, I think, and there was another one played more with the idea, but there's a lot there that can be mined. True. And it's just in the book.
Well, let's move on to our Wolfman. And I'm, after seeing a lot of his performances, I think Jake Gyllenhaal would make a really good, intense Wolfman. I that's why I went, and I think it would match well with like the universe I'm building, which I'll explain afterwards how you can make it.
There you go.
So, how about you, Paul? What do you got?
Oh, without doubt, Taylor Lautner. No, I'm just kidding. I went with Ethan Hawke.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow, good choice.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. He could play guilt-ridden Wolfman well.
Yes.
Mhm.
I like that. And honestly, like I'm basing this off of like Nick Cage's Renfield, like I said, so
Mhm.
it's all up to date. He's in the now. Maybe while along the way,
Mhm.
you know, you can have others that were created, but it takes place in the now. And I'll explain that in a little while. I'm just gonna keep saying that until everybody's like, Jason's here from the Three Geeks. What's up? How you doing? And Dan says, I maintain Alfred Molina. Size, looks like Lon Chaney Jr.
Mhm.
Even has the down on his luck look. Great and did great in Spidey. Can't argue. He's a great actor. All right. Well, Trevor, how about you, sir? What's your choice for the Wolfman?
Well, I have to go with my boy crush, and that is he's not as good as a cat familial, but he would make a great Wolfman, and that's Mr. Idris Elba, Luther himself.
Ooh, all right. I like it. I like
that.
it.
I do too.
You can play it well.
Just CGI it better than cats. That's it.
Very fair. Very fair.
Yeah.
all
Because that
Yeah,
right.
was
the shit
not
out of me.
appealing at all.
Oh man. All right. Now we're gonna go. We got two more left, and I'm gonna go with the Creature of the Black Lagoon on the next one.
Okay.
Which for me, you're not gonna see the creature. You're not gonna see the actor under the creature, and I feel like that's something that's important. Like you're not gonna get a lot of A-list actors who are like, no, I don't want to be in a costume, you know, the whole time. But I thought if you really played it well and you really pushed it, you can get him to do it. But I think he would hold well to the universe that I'm building
Mhm.
and could probably have some fun with it. All right. I thought it'd be Channing Tatum.
Oh, okay.
I thought, you know, he's in great shape. You know, he can play funny, and like this, you could try to remake, but why try to remake Creature from the Black Lagoon and the beauty behind it? Especially when I said for years you can't remake that. You can sequelize it, the hell out of it, and make it campy, but you can't remake that. It's too beautiful. And then, of course, they made The Shape of Water, and I was proven wrong. And then they remade it into this beautiful way. It has to be different, of course. So I thought with going with that, this would be more of the Gilman you see in a certain 80s movie I'm not going to talk about at the moment, but I would want the classic look, personally. I do like Chadman's choice here. He says, evening, what's going on? Go check them out tonight. They'll be live tonight on the Video Store Clerks podcast. Awesome guys, and I love watching their show. And Chadman also says the creature, David Howard Thornton would be really good. The only reason I'm going with, like, not saying David Howard Thornton isn't, you know, but to me, he's on a Doug Jones level where it's like they're making their bones off of playing intense, wonderful characters. And for this, I would want more of an A-list style of confidence that in the character. That's why I would go with maybe more of a known celebrity. But David Howard Thornton in a serious like remake I think you could make if you're going to remake that with David Howard Thornton, you got to make the second Creature, Revenge of the Creature of the Black Lagoon. I think that would work better, but I'm going off on tangents here. I would love to hear. So what do you think, Paul? Who would be your Creature from Black Lagoon?
So he's a newer actor to me. But I went with Moses Sumney, and he's from Maxine. He was the video store clerk in that one, and I just think he's got the build for it. I'd love to see him act more, and so I'd love to see him, you know, step up to the challenge of doing this. So I think it'd be great.
With the mask off, you know who the guy who plays the creature in the original reminds me of? Dan's brother Tim. Just kind of looks like him.
That's funny.
It reminds me of him. So I just wanted to say that while Dan's watching. Maybe Tim will listen later. But Trevor, who would play your Gilman?
I had to go with the long-term horror, spank bank choice, and that would be Kane Hodder. Because
you're going hardcore.
It would just be awesome because Kane is Kane. I think also in my concept, where a lot of it is connected with the ideas of ugliness and beauty, this Creature of the Black Lagoon would live in the kind of same sphere that Man-Thing would in the Marvel universe. So he'd be a much darker, potentially even supernatural creature.
I like that a lot.
Oh, cool. Let's write
That's
it.
pretty rad. That's a good one. I dig that. And I do like Dan's choice of Cumberbatch and a mocap. He could pull it off, of course. But again, like Gilman's not going to talk much.
Yeah.
And not saying that he can't act with his, body, but I don't know. I just feel like I get more of an act from, more of like a maybe Dracula or something, something like that with Cumberbatch. Tim met him, or maybe the guy who designed the suit, or something connected to it. Also happens to be his favorite, I think. It's awesome. Well, I mean, that works. All right. Our last one, we'll go around the horn real quick, is the Phantom of the Opera. Couldn't leave it out. And I went with Gary Oldman.
Ooh.
Older, I think. I mean, listen, the guy's got the gravitas to pull it off. Let's be real. I just feel like if you updated that story to something today, maybe set it at the Sydney Opera House in Australia, make them Australian. You could have like a Margot Robbie playing the lead role of the women's role in it. I can't think of her name. That could be a good one. I'm just putting stuff in my head now. I'm just like, we'll see in like 3 years, but whatever. All right, I went off on a tangent. So what do you think, Paul? Who's your Phantom of the Opera?
I went with Patrick Wilson.
I like Patrick Wilson. I like him a lot.
I don't think that movie would be amazing, but I think, Phantom of the Opera, I wouldn't say is my absolute favorite out of all of the universe. So I'm kind of like, I think it still hold the weight. I think he does a good job, and he's big in the horror community. So, hell yeah.
Like it. All right, Trevor, what about you, sir?
I'm going to have to go with Mr. Cumberbatch because I really didn't think too much about it, but I really like the choices a lot. Yeah. The only thing I can say is with Gary Oldman, if the direction of that film, say if the monster universe is extremely dark, then Oldman will be great. But yet again, like many of these stories, there's a lot of the, beauty and ugly, and there's always this dichotomy. So I think Oldman could only really play more of like, a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde or a Hunchback where, somebody who is not super classically beautiful, but at least at one point looks quite appealing. And there always has to be that.
Nah, I think Oldman would be great. No, I'm just kidding.
That's fine. That's how I read these movies. So
connecting all of this and to kind of give you guys the rundown of like what my idea to bring all these characters together, he would still work. It would be a darker movie than the other. It'd probably be more grandiose, in my opinion. Like if I were making all these and I was running this, that would be the big one. He would make an appearance in like he would be like the Mickey Rourke in the Expendables of Universal Monsters that I'm building. He's like maybe the guy they check in with, you get a really good acting scene out of, and then you move on, it's just action from that point on. But that would be that. And that would be, it would be kind of a, you can go younger. You can do a Hugh Jackman, he's Australian. He works, whatever. But for me, I always wanted them to meet because they have to take out the Monster Squad, and that would be that would be how you do the Universal franchise, but it's more up to date. Yes, there's like teenage kids involved, but like the older Monster Squad still exists, and like they're still like exist in the world, you know what I mean? Like and so like when you get to them, it's a little more darker, it's a little more disgruntled. Yeah, it seemed like it was happy in that first one, but it's been years of fighting monsters, and now they're older and they thought they were done, and now they're all back. I think that would be fun.
Kind of like it.
No, it sucked. No.
The source material is basically that. So.
Well, it wouldn't be just kids though. You would be building a team, and like the Monster Squad would be. Well, I've explained it better. I'm not explaining it better. I've done it on this show before, and I've explained it.
They were a team.
I'll leave it. I'll leave it for you guys to go check out that episode. We're actually not doing the monsters movie. We're not doing the monster music. The mixtape for that will be in 2 weeks. So, or the horror movie. But I like it. So save it for then, James. This is movie monster talk, and we just gave all of our movie monsters that we hold true to and dear in the Universal world. But I'm going to run down real quick. All right, here's the A-list actors they have: Dracula, Benedict Cumberbatch; Frankenstein's monster, Tom Hardy. Oh wow. Dan. The Mummy, Oscar Isaac. Hey, although I changed it. Invisible Man, Cillian Murphy. That's a good one. I like that. The Bride of Frankenstein, Charlize Theron. She could pull it off. The Wolfman, Hugh Jackman. I just don't see that. The Phantom of the Opera, Joaquin Phoenix.
Huh.
That'd be a good one.
Good one.
That's a really good choice. That's better than my choice. Oh God. The Creature from the Black Lagoon, Jason Momoa.
I thought about that.
That's interesting. Aaron Taylor Johnson, we sleep on him, but he's a good actor too. He might be good in The Creature from the Black Lagoon as well. B-list actors: Dracula, Luke Evans, you and like 3 other people in the movie that day. Frankenstein's monster, David Hopper from Stranger Things. I like it. The Mummy, Naveen Andrews, who was on Lost. He was in tons of other shit too. The Invisible Man, Dan Stevens. I like that role. I like that. He's a good actor. The Bride of Frankenstein, Elizabeth Debicki, who we just saw in Maxine. She plays the director. It's a good choice. Oh, the Wolfman, Carl Urban.
Ooh,
that's a great choice.
I didn't even think about him.
Oh, this is the Phantom of the Opera, Adam Driver. I don't know. I think Joaquin would fit more in my version, but I think Adam Driver would be a good choice.
Yeah, not a bad choice, that's for sure.
The Creature from the Black Lagoon, Joe Manganiello or Manganiello or whatever. He's so big. He's like a really big dude. Not saying that the creature can't be, but like Jason Momoa and Joe guy, Joey Mangs, as I'm gonna call him, they seem too big. But that's just me. Oh my God. Predominantly horror actors. Dracula, Bill Skarsgård.
Ooh.
Frankenstein's monster, Doug Jones. The Mummy, Tony Todd. I don't know if that works. I'd be interested to see it. The Invisible Man, Patrick Wilson. The Bride of Frankenstein, Anya Taylor-Joy.
Ooh.
It's hard. She's good. She's a good actor. She was the best part about, well, Chris Hemsworth was good too, but Furiosa, they didn't give her much to work with. The Wolfman, Ethan Hawke. There you go, dude. I think you're 2 for 2 on this list. And Patrick Wilson's on there too, but the Phantom of the Opera, Robert Englund. Go watch it. And the Creature from the Black Lagoon, Kane Hodder. Very awesome. Very awesome. All right, guys, we're going to get into well, actually, let's see what everybody's saying real quick. Chadman says the Expendables of the Monsterverse. There you go. And I like Naveen Andrews. Good pick. I didn't pick him, did I? I didn't pick him. No, that was all Chat GPT supplied us with that, and we were interested in it. But now it's time to talk about our 5 takeaways. That's right, everybody. Let's get into it. And we are going to talk about our 5 movie monsters we love. And let's get started because I'm excited. I'm going to go down the line. Again, when I just started, kick us off at number 5, if that works for you guys. My number 5 for this is the Graboids from Tremors. I love Tremors and I love the Graboids, and I think in the truest form, I love it. That's why I love number 4 as well. But that is my number 5. What's your number 5, Paul?
So I know it's kind of hard to quite. Anyway, mine was The Thing. I went with The Thing as number 5. Okay. I know it changes form, but
I love that you have to like reevaluate in the middle of saying it. Like it's a perfectly like if you had come out and been like, oh, Pippi Longstocking, would have been like, all right, you're done. Like, I don't know enough about movies, kid. Get out of here. But that's a perfectly reasonable thing to say. Define movie monsters. If they're monsters in movies, if they could be human, they could be monsters, but they have to be monsters. They have to classify as, scary monstrosities. Yeah, perfect. Maybe already been made. Laugh out loud. Oh yeah, you should check out the Phantom of the Opera. All right, what's your number 5, Trevor?
Oh, well, I didn't put them in order, but I'll go with the one that is part of my childhood, and I know yours, and that's Godzilla.
Very nice, very nice.
He is the king of the monsters for very good reasons. And, he is culturally relevant enough that, probably 7 out of 10 people, if they're asked monster, they're going to think of Godzilla, especially since the monster verse, as Wirt just talked about, it hasn't been in the media for a while.
Yeah, Oh, that's a great point. I love that. All right. My number 4 for the list today is going to be the doppelgangers from Us.
Ooh.
They freaked me the hell out, man. Like, granted, I know they're other humans, stuff like that, but it's like they know what you're thinking. And it's like it was just pretty intense, and I really did enjoy that element, and the fact that they look like you, and the psychological effects of like, what if he has to kill like the one that looks like his daughter, in the movie, or like she died? Like, how do you do that? It's crazy. So like it adds like a really great layer to it of the monster. All right, what's your number 4, Paul?
My number 4 is also another creature, if you will, that takes different forms, and I want It Follows. But it counts.
It's a movie monsters, not ghosts.
It's a monster. It's a monster.
It's like ghosts.
It's a monster.
The ghost that looks different every time it walks.
Yeah, it's terrifying. People are scary as shit.
Like it's like you're pitching in the All-Star game and you're just waiting to get there tonight because you got all these curveballs. Can't wait to see what 3 through 1 is. But I decided on the angel from the Angels in the Outfield.
It's gonna be the Invisible Man. It's gonna all be invisible thing.
Oh my god! All right, what's your number 4? No, not number 4. You're number 4, right?
Yep.
Yes.
What's your number 4, sir? You threw me off with your curveball.
So my number 4 is kind of a movie monster, but I picked it more in the fact that it has, become to have such meaning of both an oracle, a monster, but also something really cuddly, and that's Mothman. And I think we're going to see Mothman in film a lot more in the near future.
E2 Stoudemire, E2.
What are you mad about? It's a
Fine, all out.
great choice, Trevor.
No, it's a good choice.
Thank you.
You chose a Richard Gere movie. We appreciate it. Whatever. But you didn't
Not
pick the
gerbils, but oh, did we just make a gerbil joke at the same time?
Just made an actual joke at the same time.
That's synchronicity, babe.
I love it. The synergy is strong in this.
Like
right.
his rectum right now. So I'm sorry.
Oh god.
We shouldn't talk about those things. So.
I saw those South Park episode. Number 3 on my list for movie monsters is actually the Xenomorph.
Ooh.
It's just an amazing design. Still in that original movie. Like I love them in all of them, but like because the Xenomorph never really had a bad design, except for maybe Prometheus. But I'm not really counting. But that first one was just French kiss, chef's kiss, whatever the fuck it's called. French kiss. I'll make out my tongue. I'll make out my hand later.
And it's all H.R. Geiger. If they had not happened to run across his work, we would not have Xenomorphs in any way as we know it.
I love it. So what's your number 3, Paul?
It's going to be the aliens from A Quiet Place.
Ooh.
Okay, so at least that's over.
That's a good one. That's terrifying, man. I pop too much. I make too much noise.
Listen,
I would die so quick.
Dan says Blob, Xenomorph, Predator, Gremlins, Deadites in that order. PTK says Xenomorph for the win. My friend has a dog that looks like a Xenomorph. He salivates just like it. Stay away from that dog.
Might have rabies.
No, just be a crazy. It might actually just be a Xenomorph. You don't want to be near it. All right, what's your number 3, Trevor?
Ooh, my number 3 would be zombies. And I pick a generalization like that because we just talked about the Universal Monsters. And at the time period of the Universal Monsters, there weren't many films made about zombies. And what were made by usually Val Lewton and Jacques Tourneur were B-list movies. This is a monster that in itself just represents everything that is the proletariat of the Monsterverse. So you can, especially if you look at Romero, but if you also look at Fulci in his later zombie work, you can do anything allegorical with a zombie. Okay. So that's why I have to pick them. And I think they are the monster for our time, where the other ones were for another.
Well, I got to challenge you. Which zombie? There's different kinds. Which one do you choose? You have to have a favorite in this one.
I would have to go with the zombies from Land of the Dead.
Interesting. Kind of coming back with a little more reasoning. I dig it. All right.
I think that's the Romero film that rings truest to 2024.
Very sweet. I love that. All right. Here we go. It probably took place in 2024. I have to go back and watch. Number 2 on my list is The Gill Man.
Ooh.
We just talked about him. We just talked about why. I love the suit. I love the movie. Everything about I wish there was more depth to the character in movie lore. I would love to see something done well, but there have been the ones that do exist are gems, and I love that character. So that's why Gilman is number 2 in my heart. But you, Paul, what's your number 2?
Curveball. Nah, mine is Pennywise.
Ooh, nice.
I'll take it.
Tim Curry one?
I know you'll take it.
Oh.
Yes. And if I had to deal with zombies, the ones that freak me out are the ones from 28 Days Later. I'd be so
The Rage.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't have the cardio for that shit. They just run nonstop. I'd be done. I'd just stop. I'd stop
Dude.
smoking cigarette until I could fucking just sorry.
That guy, when he jumps out in the second one, and he gets out of the house and they're all chasing him to the boat.
Shit. Oh shit. Yeah.
I would have just been dead. I wouldn't even jumped down off of the roof. I wouldn't have made it out of the window.
I think you would have. Adrenaline, the will to be alive, I think would surprise you.
There's no flight in my fight or flight anymore.
Straight.
I will create the distraction for you. So that's sort of my level right now. But Trevor, what is your number 2?
Okay, so my number 2 did appear in a movie, but I didn't like the movie. And my number 2 is Slender Man. And why I say Slender Man, not because I'm a huge Angus Scrimm Phantasm fan, which there's a connection there, but I picked it because we're talking about a movie that kind of uses this concept. And Slender Man is the first of what is called a creepypasta. And right now, creepypastas are taking the place of universal monsters, but also the concept of Slender Man and lore and analog horror is so now. And it is, I think that is a monster that is very significant, because without Slender Man, and of course the case connected to Slender Man, Siren Head might not exist. So
I like it. I like that choice. Not predominantly known for movies either, but I dig that a lot.
I think they will.
Oh yeah. Once the stink of the movie goes off, and in fact, like even the Crooked Man is starting to come back a little bit after they used him in Conjuring the complete wrong way. He's going to be in the Hellboy movie. Like I think that's what it's going to take. It's going to take these.
Wait, did you say another Hellboy movie?
Yeah, there's another Hellboy movie coming out, and he's fighting the Crooked Man. It'll be interesting. It's a low budget. I think it's more low budget.
I'm sorry I asked.
I don't even think they're trying to build a franchise off this one. I think they just made a Hellboy movie, and it looks good. It looks interesting, so I'm excited.
But it needs sharks.
Fair. Good evening. What's up, Joe? How you doing, buddy? Thank you for joining us. Go check out the Indie Escape Network. Appreciate them for joining in, hanging out tonight. If I could include video games, Pyramid Head instead of Blob. You cannot, because we'll do that as another list someday. And then you can hold it for there. But our number 1, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it, and there is 16 reasons, 16 reasons documented on the Scene Snobs channel as to why this is my number 1 movie monster of all time. And you can go check it out. Trevor was there. Sturdy joined us for all 16, watching 40 films. Everybody can argue that it's only 39, but it is 40 films because there's 1977 Luigi Cozzi Italian version, and I'm counting it because I had to go back and watch it 3 times because it made me sick. But
oh, love for Luigi, he's gonna cry. Nobody gives him any love.
His colorization of the film was horrible, and his cut would make me sick. But there are 40 films and a lot more if you count TV. But yes, it's Godzilla 100%. Go check out our full retrospective of all 40 films and TV shows and everything else. So I'm not going to say much on it, but I love that beautiful big green, son of a gun. I love him. He's my favorite. So how about you, Paul? What's your number 1?
I went with the killer from In a Violent Nature.
Ooh, I need to see that.
It was really fucking good.
Awesome.
So good. What's wrong?
Boring.
It was not boring. It was so good.
I haven't even written a review because I've fallen asleep like twice trying to write it. Just
really?
Like, I can hear crickets. Oh,
Yeah.
There's that weird bird that whistles in the long run while he's walking and walking and walking.
Yeah. You ever walked in a forest? Same shit.
He was going to
Same
Mordor.
shit.
That's what was happening. He was just killing his way to Mordor.
I don't want to do
fair
it.
enough.
Rip someone's head through their own ass, bro.
Listen,
A marketable talent.
it's a marketable talent for sure.
Oh yeah, there's a niche for that.
You get fired every week. You just gotta stop throwing them curveballs at me left and right.
Coming to a red room near you.
I love it. So, Trevor, who's your number one?
So I they're in movies. I have to say humans, especially if you look at horror and its progression over the past 30 years. You start seeing more and more concept of dystopia, apocalypse, climate change, Godzilla. When it comes down to Dr. Frankenstein, it's all about humans. Humans are the most of the monsters. I know it's generalized, but I had to do it.
It's hard to argue because even on Supernatural, a show where week to week they fought supernatural monsters, they always said that humans were the things that scared them the most. Because it's true. It's,
Oh yeah.
you can expect a killer to be a killer, but you can't expect a human to be human all the time.
Humane.
Yeah. So the humans from It Follows don't count, though. Huh.
They're not human. Those aren't human.
Those humans.
More the
Do you think
purgy
that's
kind.
a human chasing after them?
They think it's a human.
That's their representation of an STD. That's AIDS. Is following them. Is basically what they're saying. That's that's so sorry. Your STD humans don't count. Your STD ghost.
They're
humans.
people too. Like,
No, I mean it counts. It's your list. Your STD ghost humans though, like, are the worst. But anyway, we're gonna start reviewing. That's right. We're gonna review Longlegs and Fly Me to the Moon. Two of us saw both of them. No, Trevor's gonna join us. We're gonna start with Longlegs, and Trevor's gonna join us for this one. But yeah, guys. All right. I don't have your ratings. So here's what I'm going to do. Before we talk about it, we want you to give your rundown of it, Trevor, of what you thought of Longlegs. What's your review?
Okay, well, first I have to say that it lives up to the hype. And so I went to a theater in Hagerstown, Maryland, and I was at a bar there, and we, with the person I went with, and we started talking to the guy about Longlegs, and I'm getting a very distinct feel that he believes about this story of the actress who played Harker and Nicolas Cage and her blood pressure. And I looked at him and I said, dude, it's simple William Castle on such an extremely base level. The first thing I have to say about Longlegs, it's a film all about suggestion. And to put out such a lame thing that so many people fell for shows that it is powerful. I'd have to say that if I had to create a sentence about this film, it is Silence of the Lambs through the view of analog horror. I loved it. There was so much symbolism in the film that it's insane. I could go on hours about it. But a quick story, and this is the thing, a movie like Longlegs is a film about Satan, and it's about devil worship. And I'm at my job today, and one person is asking about movies, and the other person says, oh, I saw Longlegs. I'm like, oh, it's really good. And then they spill like a couple sentences, but then they got to, it's about Satan. And I just looked at Satan, and they all looked at me like I was a heathen. So to me, it fascinates me what a person who genuinely believes in the devil and in Satan would take away from Longlegs. Because honestly, as a devil film, and I unfortunately know a lot about them, I thought it was very, very good and followed a lot of the traditional occultism and Satanism that is on books. So
I will just say this, Trevor.
Yeah.
You're 100% wrong in your review. No.
Fine.
You can't be wrong in a review.
We can't have that synchronicity all the time.
Fair.
I
No,
agree with
I
that.
listen. Here's the thing, like the comparison, and I did a full written review of it over on our letterbox, the Scene Snobs letterbox. So go follow us over there, check it out. Where I really kind of got more in depth with it, which I'm not going to do on here. I can, but I'd rather save that for a non-podcast show. But overall, like I know the comparisons, of course, Oz Perkins, who directed it, is the son of Anthony Perkins. There's a lot of parallels to not just Silence of the Lambs, but like Psycho and films like that. And it's very much
list.
Yeah, it's a Neon production, and it's a listen. It fits the tone of what a Neon and A24 are putting out in terms of horror. But it just, for me, it was a movie that just didn't have the same charm, or if that's not the right word, or just a gravitas that, you know, a Silence of the Lambs did, you know, or Psycho did. It's missing the mark of a truly special film, in my opinion. It was a good film. I didn't mind the investigation. I love the atmosphere that was being built in it. Only one time did that atmosphere really pay off, in my opinion, where they were playing the long shots and what could be happening and this, that, and the other. But yeah, for me, it was just one of those things where it's like, you had something that was really special and it was a cool, unique story, but it was just the same things that you're hyping up about it are the same things that I think kind of brought it down. Nick Cage's performance is really good. His makeup, not so much.
I
didn't
sent you
love
a picture of where he actually, it has
Well,
to.
hold on
There's
one
no
sec,
question.
Trevor, hold on one sec, please.
Sorry.
I just want to finish my point in my review, and I want Paul to get to his, and then we'll talk about it a little bit after. But so it didn't land for me. As soon as you see it, like I'm just like, yeah, all right. It didn't scare me. It wasn't like, I could see why it's a creepy figure, but there's a lot of like just stale dullness to it, especially Micah Monroe, who I really enjoyed in Watcher, and I liked in It Follows, but I didn't realize in It Follows that's just a personality she seems to be holding. It's a dry personality, and it's dull. You know, she was the most dull character in it. Blair Underwood wasn't in this. I don't think it would have the same flavor of being carried in an exciting way. Everyone in this, with the exception of Nick Cage, was just very dull. I thought Alicia Witt, who I do like in some things, was miscast as the mom. It just a lot about it. I was like, I felt like there was forced connections in certain areas, but it just did not land for me. I don't think it's a bad movie. I'm glad I saw it. I do think I need to see it again. I'm always open. And when a movie that I think is good like this, opens and I didn't have a connection with it, or you know, I didn't like it, or however it plays out, I do like to check it out again to see what it's about. You know, see what I really enjoyed about it. So I will see it again. I might have a different take on it, but overall there were just some things that, like, it just didn't. It's not something I think has a lot of rewatchability, in my opinion. But before we get to that, though, I do want to ask Paul, what do you think about the movie, man? Like, what did you think going in?
So originally I had low expectations for this movie, and then from hearing some of our friends and fellow horror watchers speaking so highly of it, the hype kind of went up, because I was like, oh, okay, it's a great movie. And they had made the comparisons to Silence of the Lambs, things like that. I think Trevor did a much better job explaining how it was like Silence of the Lambs, because I think when people told me that it was like Silence of the Lambs, they made it too vague. And I think I was too hard on the movie for it, but it just didn't land for me, man. It was too open. There were too many holes in it for me, to where I was just like, so what was the point of, the opening scene? Like, why did we have to see her be like, hey, don't go in that house, the killer's there, let's call for backup, and then dude just, oh, okay, let's go knock and see what's up. Dead. That's it. Does she get him? They just don't explain enough. And to me, I feel like a lot of times I see it as almost a cop-out, that they didn't want to do the formal writing, that they're trying to say, oh, we left it more open just so that, you have to think about it, then it's up for the audience. I think that's a cop-out and a shortcut for writing poorly, which is what I thought once it came around, where all of a sudden it was, oh, well, he worships the devil, and this is more of a supernatural thing this whole time. And it was just like, okay, so that's how
I love what you're saying. I do love the themes of the movie. I didn't mind that it was Satan. I didn't mind all that. No. There's a lot of elements to it that they added that just felt unexplained. And I understand that you're chalking it up to the Satan and the devil, but it didn't land for me. I got the same feelings about this movie that I did the first time I watched The Sixth Sense. Okay. And I have the same feelings about that movie, where I'm like, everybody's talking about this is the greatest thing on the planet, and it's like, it was good. I'm glad I've seen it. I have never watched The Sixth Sense again after that first time.
Right.
So that, to me, that tells you something. There's a lot of people who are like, I swear by it, but I'm like, I never want to see. I just don't ever want to see it again. Longlegs is a little different. It's a stronger film in certain areas, especially in its cinematography. But I do want to rewatch it. I do want to, capture maybe some of this charm that everybody else is finding. But now, Trevor, you were talking about the makeup earlier. I would love to hear what you were going to say about that.
Oh, well, it's I wasn't blown away by the visuals of Nicolas Cage, because basically it's a mixture of a concept kind of like Buffalo Bill, but also a character played by Tiny Tim, who was a ukulele player, in a 1985-87 film by Ohio's Bill Rabin called Blood Harvest. Oof. And you're like, oh man, okay, how in God's earth could that have potentially
I see it.
I see it. And also, here's the thing, and this is why I love the movie on so many levels, and it is a just reference explosion by Oz Perkins. And there's a lot of times that he even takes the liberty of going and mixing with existing lore of other movies. And I really truly think that I love this movie because I think it's film's first attempt at analog horror.
Well, okay. My only argument here is that, like, when Nicolas Cage is talking about the character of Longlegs that he plays in the movie, he says he drew a lot of comparisons to his mother. So, and I don't know what that means. I've never seen his mother. I have no idea. I'm sure it's not look, but I'm sure like just the way she talked or acted or however it was. Now,
it's a good place for his person to be if he's,
Yeah, but when I see that, I'm like, I can see that. I see what he's saying. I see basing it off of like his mother. Maybe this is what she was like, or that. But then that removes me from the fact that Alicia Witt didn't play it like a mom at all. She just seemed like a roommate that this woman went back to go visit, like an old roommate this woman went to go visit. There's just a lot of stuff that was really didn't work for me. Even that beginning, the clairvoyance, I got it. I understood with the orbs and everything else. I don't need it explained. And I'm not talking to you, Trevor. I'm talking about people in the comments. I don't need it explained. I got it. I don't hate the movie. I don't say don't see it, but I don't think it lived up to the hype. And I think there was a lot of elements in it that, although could have been cool if they were explained, but not fully were. They were just kind of left to lore, and that doesn't work for me in a movie. But we give our ratings 1 out of 5 here. Trevor, what would you give this 1 out of 5?
A 4.5.
4.5, and our man Dan definitely agrees with you. He gives it a 4.5. Of course, Master Shake is over on Betting Bros, and you can check him out on Master Shake's moderately entertaining mixology minutes. Sometimes I had to pick on him a little bit, but 4 out of 5. Those are the people who liked it. Now, again, mine is based on middle of the road. Go check it out. But I gave it a 3. Paul, you gave it a 2.5. Do you stand by that 2.5 after everything Trevor said?
Yeah. I mean, I'll rewatch it and maybe that rating goes up, but as for right now, it's still 2.5.
All right, I dig it. All right, well, that's our rating for that. Now we are going to get into the movie Fly Me to the Moon. That freaking song. But Trevor, do you want to stick around for this, or we want to let you go?
Honestly, I really don't have much to add. I didn't see it, but I want to thank you both as always. This has been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on, man. And we'll see you next week for our first of 2 mixtape episodes coming up. So thank you, Trevor, for joining in on that.
Thank you both. See ya.
Thank you, Trevor.
All right. Well, guys, we are going to talk about Fly Me to the Moon, the new Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson movie that at the 55-year anniversary of the first launch to the moon with those 3 great men, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, and where they walked on the moon. This tells the story Cape Canaveral, Florida, and I can't remember Channing Tatum's name, and he's not a real person anyway, but he's like the director of operations or director of engineering or something, and he was the one that was basically making sure that the rockets would fly. And then, of course, Scarlett Johansson comes in as this big-time New York ad exec who may be a con artist, and she gets blackmailed by Woody Harrelson's CIA person to work for NASA and to get them sponsorship and build them up so that way they can make the space race what it was. Now, I will tell you, I didn't hate this movie. I actually liked it more than Longlegs. And well, no, I didn't like it more than Longlegs. I had more fun with it than Longlegs. It is your garden variety rom-com, but with, a few more little fun blips and stuff like that on there. It's not the way for streaming for it, in my opinion, personally.
Mhm.
But, you might want to check it out. It's very dry in a lot of areas, whereas I think Scarlett Johansson and Woody Harrelson kind of carried this whole film, and Jim Rash did a fun job playing the director. Because at one point they do make her without the rest of NASA knowing create a moon landing in a soundstage. Again, they say all this is fake, but I have to argue, why would you do that on the 55-year anniversary of the first launch? Like, why would you do this? The first time we put the man on the moon, you have people who not only think it was faked, but also believe that the world is flat. And you make this movie. Either you make this movie because it's like the UFO thing where like, oh my God, COVID exists. And then like everybody, UFOs exist, try and like divert us. Either you make this movie to try and make us like cushion the blow to the fact that you did film it. Or you are just asinine and throwing kerosene on the fire, not even gasoline, kerosene on the fire. And that old shit too from Victorian era. It's not diluted, and it just is going to go up in flames. You're even throwing whistleblower in it. It's over. You've just exploded it all. Why would you do this? Why would you make this movie and think it's a fun tongue-in-cheek? The actual story was good. You could have I think this movie would have benefited from not making it in the soundstage and only making it her trying to be a great PR person for NASA and him trying to get him to fly. And then at the end, they come together in love. I would have preferred that. It's not that you can't do a movie about a fake moon landing. It's not that you can't, but it's a cop out. It's a cop out because, and I'm sorry, I know I'm passionate about this, because it's not like you're making a movie about the moon landing being fake.
Right.
You're making a movie saying it happened. Everything happened the way it did, but we also did this too. And we thought it would be fun to share it. And it's wrapped around a cool love story. It's out. It just doesn't work. And yet I still was the movie I probably enjoyed. Past weekend. It's killing me, and I'm putting this up late, but if you're watching, you're seeing spoiler warnings, so good luck. Paul, I have spoken enough.
Nah.
What do you think of this movie?
I guess unlike you, I did like this more than Longlegs. Absolutely. I do still think this is one you should stream at home. I don't think you need to go. I don't think seeing it on a movie screen is going to make that much of a difference.
Nope.
I thought it was enjoyable. We're not going to get into all my conspiracies or whatnot. So when they did the whole fake moonland, they filmed it. I was like,
Make sure you join in for our conspiracy theory episode coming up soon. So
it's going to be such a mess.
So every year since for the past 2 or 3 years, we do a true crime episode. I think this year is going to be a conspiracy true crime episode.
It's going to be an interesting one, Mick. You're going to be like, what the fuck, Paul? Think I throw
No, I'm not,
curveballs with
'cause you got a
movies?
dark mind.
Nah.
Again, go down below to the bottom of the descriptions and look for that mental health resources that I put there on every episode.
But anyway, I did enjoy it. It's one I'm looking forward to seeing with the parents, just see what they thought, because they were kids when the moon landing happened, so they watched it on TV in school. So it means more to them. So I think having a fictionally based movie about it, I think they'd find very entertaining. I think they'd absolutely love this movie. So I think if you want a good family movie, or one you could take the parents or grandparents to, I think this one is perfectly acceptable, because I kind of appreciated that they didn't make it the whole movie about them just faking the moon landing. Because I feel like they would have lost a lot of their audience, because then people that historically saw them landing on the moon and all that are not going to see it and be outraged that, why would you do this, blah, blah, blah. So I think they did it right. And I love both of Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson's acting. So I did it.
This movie, I get it. This movie was to appease the boomers.
Yeah.
That's what this movie was. It was to appease the boomers. Yeah, you got good looking 60s style. You got the most hopeful time in American history 55 years ago. And we went to the fucking moon. I know I'm trying not to curse, but that's an amazing achievement.
Yeah.
And like the boomers are walking in there and they're going to be like, well, you better not take this away from us. It better not be fake. Better not. And then it's like, oh, it's not fake. She faked it, but I get why she faked it. So when the real news comes out after the boomers are gone,
it's already there, man. Like we didn't.
I'm kidding.
I'm
I don't want
not.
to piss off any of the actual like scientists. You can. I don't want to. But our ratings for this were we actually were inverted from the last one. I was 2.5 and you were 3 on it. Like I said, it was streaming. Check it out. It's a fun run of the mill movie, but whatever. We went long today. Holy crap! It's almost 8:30. All right, let's move on and finish this off with a mixed movie pick from 1985. And because it's celebrating its 39th anniversary and it's my favorite movie of all time, I went with Back to the Future. Go watch it. That's my mixed movie pick. I can't wait for you guys to go see it. If you haven't seen it already, tell me what you think. And the only way you can do that is by joining our Discord. And the only way you can do that is by following us over on Patreon. That's right. You're going to follow us over there, and that way you'll get our newsletter. You will get written reviews that I do. You will get other videos that we put out, links, things like that, and we do other stuff as well. And we give out, merch to our merch store, snobsmerch.com. We give out discount codes and so much more. We have our awesome new logos on there, and we got tons of other stuff and some very cool movie designs. So I'm very proud of them. So, but you got to be in the know. You got to join up on our Patreon. So follow for free over on Patreon. If you do feel like maybe parting with some of your money and supporting the channel, and all goes back in and helps to build these shows out to be the best they can be. If you like some of our shows and want them to be a little bit longer, well, that takes a little bit of money because some other things that I got to do. But if you guys are interested into it, we got a lot of fun stuff coming. But join up on the Patreon, and we have shows that are in the perks of the paid Patreon tiers, like Warp Factor Fiction. You get early. That's a Star Trek rewatch episode I do with my kid. We have other shows that are coming out as well, and we're going to be doing special live events over on Patreon. So we can't wait to have you be there. Thank you guys so much for joining in, hanging out with us. Thank you to our sponsor, StubHub. We appreciate you. Go down below in the links. Check out StubHub. Get your tickets for that concert. Get your tickets for that whatever you want to go to, a sporting event, anything else. They got everything on there. I use StubHub. We got our Taylor Swift tickets on there. I've always bought all my tickets on StubHub. They're usually cheaper, and I like them. But guys, that is what is awesome about this sponsor. So go check them out. And thank all of you. But before we get there, I do want to say, Paul, you got anything to say before we go?
It's still hot, so stay hydrated, y'all. Keep watching. Keep listening. Keep loving the magic of movies, even if you get movies like Longlegs.
Oh, that was a little harsh. That's okay. That's okay. But guys, thank you again for joining in. Thank you, Paul. Thank you to our guest, Trevor from Ambassador Media. Go follow him. And thank everybody for just being a part of the Snob Nation and really joining in and hanging out with us. Until next time, I'm Mick Manhattan from the thescenesnobs, and we hope you would just have an amazing time being a part of the Snob Nation. Remember to be kind to each other, stay classy, and take care of yourselves because that's important. Until next time, bye.